Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn founded in 1875. But they did not play an official league game until 3 years later. It was then that they joined the Lancashire League. The following year, they also joined their first FA Cup and even won their first ever game in the tournament, 5-1. Let's just not mention that they lost in the third round 6-0 to Nottingham Forest by 1882. They were well established and made their epic first FA Cup final, losing 1-0 to Old Etonians, who are heavily featured in the Netflix show The English Game. 2 years later, they won their first silverware, beating Queen's Park 2-1 in a repeat final. The next year, they won 2-0, then completed the three-peat the year after, beating West Brom 2-0. For this impressive feat, they won a special award known as the Silver Shield. If you're wondering, the Queen's Park team was not QPR but is a Scottish team who now plays in the Scottish Second Division. In 1888, the team joined the inaugural season of the Football League, which we talked about more in our Preston North End video in 1890. The club won their fourth FA Cup final, obliterating Sheffield Wednesday 6-1. William Townley scored a hat-trick in the final, becoming the first ever player to do so. To no one's shock, they went on to win the final the next year and beats Knock County 3-2. At this point, you might be thinking this is a video about Sir Alex Ferguson's United or Guardiola's Barcelona. But no, we are still very much talking about Blackburn Rovers. In the beginning of the 1920s, the team struggled to keep form and were relegated once but won a vote to remain in the top flight. They quickly returned to their 1880s form. However, in 1912, they won their first top-flight title and did so again in 1914. The First World War had a negative effect on the team, dropping them from title contender 2. After the war ended, being in a relegation battle. They rebounded quickly. However, avoiding relegation and also winning the 1928 FA Cup final, that was a lot of winning. How about we change pace and talk about some losing in the seasons following the final? The team drifted from a title contender and winner to a solid mid-table team until finally succumbing to the drop in 1936, despite a sharp decline. The following 2 years, they were first in 1939. But unfortunately, the league ended after the outbreak of the Second World War. Due to their position in 1939, they were chosen as a top-flight team in 1946. Sadly for them, they were relegated the year later and remained in the second flight for a decade. Strangely, they channeled their history and made the 1960 FA Cup final, despite not being all that good. The fairy tale came to an end when they lost 3-0 to Wolves. That was partly due to the fact that Dave Whelan broke his leg early in the game, making them play down one man in 1966. They were relegated and enjoyed 26 years in the second and third flights in the 70s. They were a yo-yo club, going from second to third divisions twice by the 1980s. They were consistently pushing for promotion, usually just barely missing out at the same time. Jack Walker, owner of Walker Steel, was amassing a fortune of $60 million, decided to set his sights on owning his very own football team in 1992. With the help of Walker's millions, Blackburn made the top flight just in time for the inaugural Premier League that year. A whopping $3.5 million was shelled out for Southampton up-and-comer Alan Shearer. That may not sound like a lot of money in today's football climate. With the likes of Roman and Broadway, we're spending tens of millions of dollars on the likes of Danny Drinkwater. But at the time, that was serious money. And by that, I mean the English record transfer fee. They finished fourth in 1993, second in 1994, and finally brought it home in 1995. That trophy was their first major piece of silver since all the way back in 1928 when they won the FA Cup final. After winning the trophy, the team began to dramatically decline. Poor season start after poor season starts led to a coaching carousel, which ended with Brian Kidd. Unfortunately, Kidd failed to keep the Rovers up, and in 1999, 4 years after winning their title, they were relegated. While there is still more history to Blackburn, it is largely just a tale of an average Premier League team becoming an average second-tier team. They did get promoted back and even played some European football after finishing 6th, but soon after were relegated again. After a one-season stint in League One, the third division, they were sent back up into the Championship. As with all these videos, I really enjoyed researching this one. A lot of people know the story of their 95 win, but I had no idea just how dominant they were in the FA Cup. Regardless, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.